I used to think betrayal would come like a storm, sudden, loud, unmistakable. But when it came for me, it crept in quiet. A knock on the door, a smile too wide, a mother-in-law holding an itinerary to my honeymoon. We got married on a Saturday in late spring, in a little vineyard outside Santa Barbara. I remember the vines trembling in the breeze, the sun glowing behind us like it was blessing our vows. Jake squeezed my hand at the altar, and I thought, this is it. The start of everything. Turns out, it was the start of something, just not what I imagined. Our honeymoon was supposed to be a week in Big Sur. No itinerary, no responsibilities. Just cliffs, ocean, and the quiet promise of peace. I booked it all myself, right down to the massage appointments and a little stargazing cabin at the resort. I'd even called ahead to ask for a wine welcome basket with our wedding date etched on the label. I was so proud of it. I wanted it to be perfect. But perfect, apparently, had no place in the family I married into. It started innocently enough. The night before we left, Jake got a phone call. He walked into the other room to take it, which already sent a chill through me. When he came back, he was scratching his neck and avoiding eye contact. "Babe, just a heads up, my mom might, be at the same resort," he mumbled. My heart stopped. What? She's staying nearby, not with us. Just in case we need anything. Jake. It's our honeymoon. Not a backyard barbecue. He looked sheepish. She said it's a cultural thing. That she just wants to make sure her son is well taken care of. Then he smiled, like it was sweet. Like this was somehow cute and maternal instead of sick and controlling. My stomach turned. "Did you tell her where we were staying?" He hesitated. She asked. "I didn't think." "You didn't think." "Exactly. I should have walked then. But I didn't." I smiled. Tight-lipped. Nodded. And the next morning, I packed my bags. I didn't say a word when I saw the extra room booked next to ours under Margaret A. I didn't even blink when she met us at check-in, waving like she'd won a radio contest. That first night, we got exactly 1 hour to ourselves. Just one. Then came the knocks. Knock knock knock. I brought cookies. Knock knock. "Can I borrow Jake for a second?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I drank wine. A lot of it. Jake looked increasingly nervous with each interruption, but never once told her to stop. Never once drew a line. By night 3, I realized this wasn't about checking in. Margaret had her own schedule. Breakfast at 9, I found a charming little spot, a midday hike, just to get the blood flowing, you know how Jake gets sluggish, and dinner at 6 sharp, table for 3. Always 3. And Jake? He just kept saying, "It's only a few days. Just go with it." He had no idea what I was going with. On the morning of day 5, I went to the front desk. Smiled at the concierge like nothing was wrong. "Hi, I just wanted to confirm the room next door to ours. Under Margaret A." "Yes," the woman said. "Mrs. Ashcroft." She asked about adjoining door options. I let her know we don't offer that. I paused. Did she mention anything about surveillance? The woman blinked. Not directly. But she did ask if we had security cameras on our floor. Said she wanted to make sure the hallway remained quiet. Of course she did. I forced a smile. "Thanks. That's all." Then I walked outside, pulled my phone from my bag, and opened the app I'd been building for 2 months. Password protected. Hidden. Labeled budget tracker so Jake wouldn't think twice. Inside was everything. Bank statements. Text message logs. Hidden cameras of my own, not in our room, never that. But in my office, where Jake had gone snooping once, digging through my laptop like he didn't trust me. The footage proved it. There were records of calls between Jake and his mom. Times and dates. One from before the wedding where he told her, "She doesn't need to know what's going on behind the scenes. I've got it under control." I didn't know what that meant yet, but I would. Because when we got back home, that's when the real game started. And Margaret? She had no idea what was waiting for her behind that front door. The first thing I did when we got home was open the windows. Not because it was stuffy. Not because it smelled like Margaret's lavender hand lotion or the candle she insisted on gifting us, bless this nest in nauseating cursive script, but because I needed the air. I needed clarity. And I knew that was something I was never going to get as long as Jake and his mother had full control over my house, my life, and apparently, my honeymoon. "Do you want tea?" Jake asked that first night home, like nothing had happened. "No," I said quietly. He sighed. "You've been weird since we got back." I didn't answer. Just walked into the bedroom, closed the door, and waited until he fell asleep. At midnight, I got out of bed, took my laptop into the guest room, and opened the app again. I scrolled through the logs until I found it, Margaret's name on a bank transfer from our joint savings account. The amount, $7,500. Labeled consulting. I cross-referenced it with a date, 10 days before our wedding. That money was not for a wedding planner. That money was for something else. I didn't sleep at all that night. By 7 a.m., I was in the attic, where Margaret had once claimed she'd lost her scarf while helping us organize. I never thought much of it before. But something about that moment came back to me, how she'd been up there for almost 30 minutes alone, came back flushed, and said she couldn't find anything, probably left it at home. She hadn't lost a scarf, she'd planted something. I found it in the insulation above the closet crawlspace. A small black box, barely bigger than a deck of cards. I recognized it immediately, an audio recorder. One of those long battery devices meant to run quietly, weeks at a time. I stared at it for a long moment before slipping it into my pocket. That night, while Jake cooked dinner downstairs, I sat at my desk with headphones and listened. The file was 5 hours long. Most of it was mundane, a dripping faucet, our morning arguments over toothpaste caps. But then came her voice. "I just want to make sure he's happy," she said. "I'm fine, Mom," Jake replied, voice low. "Just stop pushing. You won't be fine if she turns on you. You saw the prenup terms. You saw how she acted when you mentioned the house." A pause. "You're my son," she said. "I have to look out for you." "You're right," he whispered. That's when my hands started shaking. Because the prenup? I never signed one. We discussed it, sure. Margaret brought it up, but I shut it down and Jake swore it didn't matter. "We're equals," he said. "This is our life, not hers." But apparently, they'd created their own version, something I'd never seen, never agreed to. And they were using it behind my back. And that wasn't all. Because tucked inside the folder labeled consulting on Jake's personal laptop, which he stupidly left open when he went to shower, was a scanned PDF labeled revised trust agreement. Signed. Not by me. But with my name forged in clean, confident cursive. They were planning to move the house into a family trust. A clause that, once enacted, would give joint control to Margaret if something were to happen to Jake. I laughed out loud when I read it. It wasn't even the betrayal that stung most, it was the arrogance. The smug belief that I'd never look. That I'd just go along smiling, nodding, playing the perfect little wife while they maneuvered my entire life into a gilded cage. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I had something Margaret didn't. I had a surprise. I spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Documents. Voice recordings. Account statements. I called an attorney, my own attorney, not the one Jake's friend recommended when we got engaged. I booked an appointment under a fake name, showed up early, and laid it all out. The forged prenup. The audio surveillance. The trust agreement. The money transfer. She didn't blink. "You have them cold," she said. "Want to go nuclear?" "Yes," I said, calmly. "And I want it to be a surprise." We started with the house. It had been purchased with my inheritance, my grandmother's estate, which I received 6 months before Jake proposed. His name was never on the deed. Never on the mortgage. So I filed for full ownership. No contest. Then I moved the money. All of it. Every dollar we had in the joint account, I shifted to my name only. And the moment I hit submit, I smiled. Because Jake had spent weeks arguing with Margaret about giving me access. And when she finally allowed it, I played dumb. Played grateful. But I never said whose name I'd use. The money? It was mine now. Next came the real surprise. A formal cease and desist letter, drafted and notarized, delivered to Margaret's home with 2 things inside, a printout of the forged trust agreement and the voice recording of her instructing Jake to protect the family's interest. The final line read, "This document constitutes notice of intent to pursue charges of identity theft, fraud, and illegal surveillance. You may want to consult your own attorney." She received it the next morning. Jake? He came home that night to an empty bedroom. Furniture gone. My clothes, jewelry, laptop, all missing. But what he found instead was a single envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside? A flash drive. And a note. "You two wanted to control everything. You forgot the one person who knows where the real switches are." Jake called 37 times before noon. Each one went straight to voicemail. His messages started off confused. "Hey, where are you?" Then they turned frantic. "What the hell, the house is empty, like, everything. Is this some kind of joke?" Then came the anger. You're insane. You can't just take everything. That's our money. Our house. But it wasn't ours. Not anymore. At 2:13 p.m., I got the text from Margaret. You'll regret this. I didn't respond. I was too busy watching the notification hit my inbox, proof of delivery. The courier had left the envelope with her housekeeper. I imagined her opening it in her over-decorated kitchen, porcelain collection behind her, the scent of eucalyptus and entitlement wafting through the air. She'd sit at that granite counter, read every line, and finally feel what I had felt for months, exposed. Jake, meanwhile, wasn't handling things well. He showed up at my sister's place that night, disheveled and out of breath. I watched him through the peephole, hair a mess, holding the flash drive in one hand and a bag of takeout in the other like it might smooth things over. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in a day. I opened the door halfway. You need to leave. Can we just talk? His voice cracked. You had weeks to talk. Months, really. I begged you to set boundaries. And instead, you installed them into me. He held up the flash drive. I didn't know you were recording us. I smiled coldly. That's funny. I didn't know your mother was recording us either. Or paying lawyers to forge a prenup. His face crumpled. She was trying to protect me. I stepped back, letting the weight of his words settle like smoke in the hallway. No. She was trying to own you. And you let her. He dropped the takeout on the ground like it burned him. I didn't know she filed those documents. I never wanted it to go that far. But you knew enough, I said. You knew she was watching me. You knew she didn't trust me. You knew she booked a room next to ours on our honeymoon, Jake. I thought she'd back off. After the wedding? I snapped. You thought I'd be easier to manage once I had your last name? That's when he looked truly scared. And not because of me. Because he finally realized I wasn't playing anymore. She made me choose, he said softly. Before the wedding. She told me if I didn't protect the family assets, I'd be cut off. And you chose, I whispered. He didn't deny it. Where are you staying now? I asked. He blinked. What? Where? Are you sleeping? At Mom's. Perfect, I said. You two deserve each other. And I shut the door. Over the next few days, things escalated fast. Jake's cousin, an accountant, bless him, called me to apologize. Said he didn't know the full extent of what was happening until Margaret tried to have him help move some funds around to fix things. He warned me, they're going to fight you for the house. I'm ready, I said. And I was. Because I'd already sent everything, every document, audio clip, file, and receipt, to a lawyer who specialized in coercive control and financial abuse. She was building a case faster than Margaret could bribe a florist. Then, 2 nights later, I got an email from a burner address. No subject line. Just one attachment. It was video footage. Grainy. Security camera feed from the resort in Big Sur. It showed Margaret slipping into the hallway outside our room, holding a thin black object in her hand. She paused outside the door. Looked around. Then, slowly, bent down and slid something under the trim near the carpet. Timestamped, 10:42 p.m., 3rd night of our honeymoon. It wasn't just paranoia. She really had bugged our room. I couldn't breathe. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. The image paused on her hunched figure. This wasn't just interference. This was surveillance. Criminal behavior. The video came with one line in the body of the email. This came from a hotel staffer. I thought you'd want it. No name. No explanation. It didn't matter. I had enough. The next morning, I walked into the sheriff's office with a thumb drive, a copy of the prenup forgery, the financial documents, and a written statement. I filed a report for identity fraud, unauthorized surveillance, and coercion. 2 weeks later, a detective contacted me. We've opened an investigation. We'd like to interview your mother-in-law. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because Margaret wasn't the kind of woman who went down easy. She was the kind who played the long game. But so was I. And I was just getting started. Margaret didn't show up to the first police interview. Her lawyer sent a letter claiming she was emotionally distressed and unfit to attend due to the slanderous accusations made by her daughter-in-law. She even had the audacity to request a virtual interview instead, so she could remain in the comfort of her mansion while the rest of us dealt with the mess she made. The detective wasn't having it. Meanwhile, Jake sent me a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A letter. Like we were in some Jane Austen fever dream. Sarah, I miss you. I never wanted things to go this far. I was scared. Scared of losing everything. I still love you, But I understand if you hate me. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. Always. No apology. No admission of what he did. Just a sad boy monologue about fear and love and poor little Jake, caught in the middle. I ripped the letter in half and dropped it in the trash. I was done coddling men who let women destroy other women. He wasn't a victim. He was a coward. And cowards don't get second chances. Then came the email from the resort manager in Big Sur. They'd seen the footage I submitted. And they'd gone back through their logs. Turns out, Margaret had requested a master key under Jake's name, claiming she lost hers. And Jake had confirmed it, on speaker, over the phone. The hotel had audio. They sent me the transcript. Manager, can you confirm that you'd like us to provide a duplicate key to your room to a Margaret A? Jake, yes. She's my mother. It's fine. I forwarded it straight to the detective. That was the last piece. 3 days later, Margaret Ashcroft was served a subpoena. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Illegal surveillance. And, pending review, attempted financial coercion. Jake was named in the investigation too. Not criminally, yet, but he was listed as a party with direct knowledge. Which meant if he lied under oath, or withheld evidence, he'd go down with her. And then came my favorite moment. The surprise I'd promised. I scheduled a public notary and delivered the paperwork to Jake's workplace. He opened the envelope in the lobby of his office building, glass walls, plenty of audience, and inside was a single document. Final divorce filing, irreconcilable differences and financial malfeasance. I attached a photo of the forged prenup, the flash drive, a notarized statement from the resort, and a note in my handwriting. Since you and your mother love sharing rooms, I figured you'd enjoy sharing accountability, too. Good luck. By the end of the month, I'd removed him from everything. The mortgage. The car. The health insurance. Even the streaming subscriptions. I wiped our shared Spotify playlist. Petty? Maybe. But I didn't want a single song reminding me of him. And Margaret? She lawyered up fast. Tried to countersue for defamation. Claimed I was mentally unstable, obsessed with control, and dangerous. Too bad for her, the evidence didn't lie. And guess who showed up at my door? The hotel staffer who had emailed me anonymously. Her name was Lena. She said she was working the night shift the week we were there. Said she'd seen Margaret lurking around too many times. Said she hated what she saw in women like that, women who smile while they gut you. She handed me a second flash drive. This one's got audio, she said. Thought you'd want to hear it. I played it that night, alone in my new apartment. Margaret, I told you, we have to secure the assets. If something happens, if she walks, you'll lose everything. Jake, she's not going to walk. Margaret, she's already walking. Look at her. Independent. Secretive. She doesn't need you, Jake. That's dangerous. You want to be needed. That's what marriage is supposed to be. Jake, sighing, I just want her to love me. Margaret, then make sure she can't afford to leave. That was the line. Make sure she can't afford to leave. Except I could. And I did. 6 months later, the case was still pending. Margaret had to surrender her passport. Jake moved in with his aunt. Their family name, once pristine in their community, was now whispered in courtrooms and HR departments. Me? I started over. Different city. New job. Same me, but louder now, clearer. I kept the wine bottle keepsake from the honeymoon, the one with the wedding date etched on it, not as a memory of the marriage, but as a reminder of the day I realized exactly who I was dealing with, because some women lose themselves in a marriage. I found myself in a war. And I won.